found myself in the garden where the flowers blossomed, weeping, crying, and I watched as a storm poured in, the winds blowing to and fro, leaves scattered, shaking the very foundation that I stood on. But as the storm settled, laying itself to rest, the flowers dancing to the whistles of the wind, it was then that I found myself in the petals. This year, I didn't want to just do something just to be doing it. I wanted to do something that was true to myself, but also give Chicago an experience that was different, but also take people into like my journey. Yeah, I've done so much over the years of talking about the partnerships and the shows and the campaigns and things that I've been a part of, but I wanted people to just learn about the journey of how I got here. You know, I'm not always able to share that, but that's the reason for this film, but also just humanize who I am so that somebody else is inspired outside of me just saying, yeah, I want to be the reputation. Yeah, I want to shift narrative. But like, let's sit down and talk to me and show you that I'm just like you know, and you can do it too. Hey, folks. What's she calling me? Oh, look, this is the other one when I was a baby. Hey, girl.
Well, I just decided to get something together right quick.
My mama said she called me.
A few minutes ago.
She was like, Chelsea, I'm telling Papa right now that you ain't eating nothing. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, you didn't eat nothing. That's what I was told.
I didn't, shit.
And you know how long ago that was?
No.
Since you called.
My name is Charles Billingsley.
And I'm Betty Billingsley, and we are Chelsea B's grandparents. Chelsea, she kind of kept to herself. She was always thinking ahead. She would sit around and draw, and so one day she was sitting in the living room and she drew something. And she said, Grandma, look. I walked in and looked at it, and it was a dress that she had designed. And I'm pretty sure if she made that dress today, it would look like runway.
Oh, as a child, Chelsea watched shows like Sandra Lee, Bobby Flay, cooking shows, and home improvement shows. She stayed in her room. She drew art dresses. She would sign her name. She participated in art.
So what is the first time that I remember being with my sister? The most memorable time was when she first made me try on her first outfit she crocheted. It was some socks, I believe, but it was a good time. You know, the socks went all the way up to my knees, but it was nice.
Oh, she was a sweetheart. If you taught her, she learned, she listened. She was a sweet cake.
She always had a mind of her own. She wasn't a follower. She was like always a leader.
I was a pretty awkward kid. I wouldn't say awkward, but I just kind of kept to myself. I grew up like taking the trains to and from like the north side to the south side of Chicago. I grew up with all brothers, so I found myself just kind of being a little rough. That's funny because I was quiet, but I'm over here rough.
If I could describe my sister in 3 words, I would say she's creative, artistic, and persistent. Ooh, if I can describe my sister in 3 words, what would it be? Okay, first one is beautiful. Chelsea is the person that really, I guess, directed a lot of our style, or my style, my brother's style, so that's one thing. The way she carries herself is beautiful. The next one would be grit. I remember when we was in Chicago Bulls college prep and we had to run this 800-meter dash. So they will always send the boys after the girls, but the way it would end, my sister would still beat all of the boys. So it'd be me and my sister coming in, not me and the boys. Last is, I say, hard working. It was days where Chelsea didn't really know what she wanted to do with her fashion or her style, or didn't believe in her craft, but she still worked at it and made it her own way.
Being a twin, it's funny because it's as if you're growing up with a best friend. Yeah, I grew up with kind of like a mini bodyguard. having a twin, it instilled that competitive nature in me. Not that I wanted to beat him, but because he was my brother and he was a little bit more stronger than me and things like that. But we also did art too, so it was like, oh, who can draw this better? And like,
my sister was the one that everybody looked at to put the best foot forward. You know, always A's, just school oriented and all that. Me, I was the twin that was introverted really bad, you know, or just out of the way curious. So it was like we was complete opposites.
You know what's funny? The funniest thing is that when we were growing up, people always said, that's Charles' sister. Now it's like, oh, that's Chelsea's brother. So we kind of the flip-flop. He was just always very encouraging into whether that was sport, like any endeavor I wanted to do, he's still just very encouraging. Like with him being popular, it just gave me a chance to just like observe, you know, what it means to just have people drawn to you. In a way, he was kind of like an inspiration to me because I'm like, wow, he's so freaking cool. But what I will say is he was very protective. So he showed me that like, yeah, people can have access to you, but also make sure that people respect you. And so that respect and me learning how to like respect myself and make sure I kept certain boundaries was coming from him because he was my protector growing up, and he always made sure that the right people was around me and that I wasn't in situations or places that that didn't suit me best. So
Chelsea, she loved school. And I found out she liked sports too because she was a runner, track runner.
Like I said, I was just like that quiet kid in the back of the class, just drawing. But I was a pretty good student. Like I was on the honor roll, all the things, up until I decided to run track. That came when I was like, I think 7th or 8th grade. And it just became an outlet for me because I was going through a lot of like trauma as a kid in terms of just like abuse and stuff, and just trying to figure myself out and develop my confidence.
With my sister, when we was younger, we had a like rough kind of childhood. I don't want to get into it, but just seeing her persevere is what I remember her first earliest moments, just us persevering as twins. So.
I grew up on like 55th and Wabash, 5518 South Wabash. Came from a family, low-income family. We faced challenges. We were homeless, and that's true. We were in the newspaper. We didn't have much, but my daughter lets me know those trips on the bus, going to the zoo, or those trips just taking a train ride. She was telling me, Mama, those little times that you took out for us, even if it was the park, they mattered.
When I think of my mom, I think of a very strong Black woman. I think of a matriarch. I think of a woman of faith. The hard work she put in and the struggle she went through in raising me, with the little that she had, cultivated a space that made me who I am today. She's just a hard worker in all of its essence. Like my mama, when I was a baby, like fresh out the womb, my mama was literally headed back to work so that she could grind, so that she could provide for us. And so it's like, dang, if my mama did that at such a young age, I pray for a fact I got that same tenacity, the same determination, passion for whatever it is. My baby is not an actual kid, but my baby is my brand and my business. And so because she was who she is and she walked, like I gotta run this race. When I got in high school was when just the idea of creating these things that I was envisioning on paper, tangible. When I learned how to crochet back in high school, my teacher, Meg McGivney, she actually taught me, and she was a music teacher, funny.
Okay, so I met Chelsea when she was a freshman, and I know I taught her brother, so like they kind of came hand in hand, so I see them together. And she seemed very quiet and she kept to herself at first, but then once you get to know her, you know that is not Chelsea at all. There was always some unique traits about her that stuck out to me as a teacher, as far as creativity and, you know, kind of doing her own thing in a good way.
When I picked up that hook, it was just something in me that was like, wow, this all makes sense. Like now I could create anything I want to.
I remember teaching Chelsea just like the basic crochet, you know, like getting the hook on there and then we were just going to do a scarf. Like that was it. And I just remember her first scarf and she was like, oh God. And she was like not happy with it, but then she just kept doing it.
So that transition from like full on athletics to like, hey, I'm gonna switch to a creative career and see what they do. It was hard. I decided that I wasn't gonna allow other people's expectations to be my expectations for myself.
With Chelsea, I can truly say that she taps into the unknown.
Everybody didn't believe in her dream at first. And you know, as a little brother, your big sister doing something, you just wanna like, you know what I'm saying, beat up for her, so.
I don't know if it was a counselor or what she was, but one of them told her that she couldn't go to SCAD. That's what Chelsea wanted to go.
Watching Chelsea fight for that, like I was fighting for that too with her, because the school that we were at when she was in high school, they were really pushing four-year universities, liberal arts universities, things like that, because art schools are typically very much more expensive. It's harder to get scholarships.
Well, at first, because we didn't have the money. At that time, it was $52,000 a year. It was expensive. And so she just said, Mom, I remember a time the advisory teachers met with me in a meeting, and they wanted Chelsea to pursue her track and field career because she was good, and she was a straight A and B student.
The pressure, it was just a lot, and I just wanted to like break free from just all of this weight of expectation. So
Chelsea said, Grandma, she told me I couldn't go, but I talked to God, and God told me I can go. I said, well, Chelsea, if God told you to go, then you can go.
Who's our keynote speaker of this morning. She is a 2015 Bulls Prep alum, Chelsea Billingsley.
In the words of Virgil Abloh, life is so short that you can't waste even a day subscribing to what someone thinks you can do versus knowing what you can do. And so upon reflection, I realized that high school gave me everything I needed, and college sharpened me for the creative career that I was so passionate about pursuing. And so when thinking of what to say and how to present to you all, one question came up for me. What had the world told me about myself before high school?
Me and Chelsea first met at church / online. I was getting ready to be a student at SCAD, and Chelsea was already obviously a student there. And we met because we were sitting at church. And so she sat down and I was like, Chelsea? She said my name, and we were just kind of go from there, and that's how we met. And I would always look up to her and kind of ask her questions and advice, and she really was like a big sister.
My name is Chelsea Tatiana Billingsley, and I am 22 years old. I am a current senior, and I am about to graduate from the Savannah College of Art and Design.
So when I decided to just do my own show, one of the things that has been prevalent or a constant, compass within me is to shift narrative and make sure that I'm being the proper representation within my city.
The first fashion show she did, when she called me at school, Mom, I'm gonna do a fashion show when I graduate. And I'm like, well, how you gonna do all of this?
I went to SCAD and I decided to pursue this career and get the education so that I could come back and educate my city, but also open it up and develop and start to create conversations around what it means to be from Chicago, but also come from poverty and then make it in a creative career.
It was something that nobody ever seen in our family do, or just in general, me, I haven't seen nobody do it like that.
She literally worked, got money together, and she would send money home to me. She knew what she wanted, but Chelsea paid for everything.
I met Chelsea back in 2019, Code Red, her very first fashion show, okay? I was a fashion assistant, helping out backstage, runway.
I've titled it Code Red Collection, but it's ultimately gonna be its own thing. Red is like an emergency color. It's like I'm sounding the alarm. I'm coming back. I'm about to tear the world up. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but Code Red, she's coming. Chelsea's coming.
That was my very first local show. I've done fashion bar before, but nothing compares when your friends get together and you guys create magic together. It was at a funeral home. It was very creative.
They were coming from Atlanta. They were coming from different countries to come to this fashion show, all diverse cultures and nationalities. And I was like, oh my God, who child is this?
See it come to life was like big, you know? And it was just like amazing, like, yeah, you really did this, you feel me?
Code Red is like, I'm a new up and coming artist. I'm here, just come and see. Just come and see what crochet is about. Just come and see what a young lady from the south side of Chicago who trusted God to make a name for herself is all about.
So that was one thing that really stood out for me, is that at that moment in time, her career became real, and knowing that she's on this certain path in fashion and everything that she's doing.
It was hard. My granddad, he was battling stage 4 cancer, and just planning it and trying to plan it outside of the city, it was a test of the wills. Just as hard as that was when I did that show and Chicago supported me, it was still harder. It was like the same amount of hard, if not a little bit more, when I decided to plan Give Them Their Flowers.
Chelsea in 3 words. Pleasant, driven, talented. So I'm Karen. I am a designer and a marketer. It was 2019. Nike had opened what we call recreation centers. And so I would just see this girl in the studio like maybe almost every day. I felt like she was just back there and she was just like crocheting. I never bothered her. And then we had like these bleachers that had like books and art, and different artists would come back there and they would just kind of like leave their art there. Chelsea crocheted an Air Force One and she left it in a bag. She did her little tag on it. And so I was like, man, this is dope. So I was talking to one of the people that were working there and I was like, hey, who did this Air Force One? And they were like, oh, it's the girl, you know, she comes in every day. The next time I came into work, we were doing like a walkthrough and I seen her back there and I like beeline to her and I was like, who are you and what do you do? Like, why are you here every day? I'm from Chicago, and so when you understand being an artist and how difficult it is for someone, there's so much talent, and for someone to see your work and like edify you and just pour into you. I used to always tell Chelsea, you're so talented, like you are, I told her all the time, you're gonna kill it. In a couple years, like your name is about to really be out there.
When I decided to Give Them Their Flowers, you know, I sounded the alarm in the first show. Now it was like, let me give back to Chicago what they poured into me over that like 3 or 4 years.
A huge upgrade from Code Red, just because the space that we were in, the amount of models we had.
It's just like growth. That's like, I always tell Chelsea, like, you've grown so much and I love seeing the growth.
My name is Anicia. I am a producer, wardrobe stylist, and model. And then I'm also the creative director with House of Chelsea B. Me and Chelsea first met working at the water tower, and we ended up like running into each other when the store was closing. And I don't know, it was just something like, how can I put it? We were just two like genuine, authentic souls that ran into each other, and like ever since then, the love was just genuine.
I wanted to just give Chicago their flowers, but also give flowers to the ones that have inspired this journey of mine. 2 of those individuals was my great-grandmother, Pauline, and a lot of people hear me talk about this. But what people don't understand is that I never got a chance to meet her. I never got a chance to experience her. I never got a chance to share space and time with her. And I hear so many stories about how great of a person she was, how she stood on business, and then to top it all off, she crocheted. And nobody else in my family did that. And so the fact that I took that on and like so many aspects of how I bring people together within my family, she did that. And the fact that I can't even experience that with her, but she's so much rooted in the journey that I'm on, I wanted to give her flowers from down here in the same way as my great uncle. Like, he was so young, and in a sense, I'm very young, and I'm paving the way, and in some ways in my family, I'm a trailblazer, you know? And so the fact that I can't share space and time with him because he was, you know, killed so many years ago, the only way that I could do that in real time was through this show that amplified who they were, and in the same sense, amplify the people that I admire and see value in my community.
We are here. It is July the 6th, and we are here. This is like the first public showcase of the Rest in Petals collection. I'm so proud of this work, y'all. This is some stuff that like y'all kind of seen from me. I haven't seen from me in a while, and y'all look at it.
It was a product of a journey I went on after I rapped Give Them Their Flowers. And I was just trying to figure out myself. And so one of the things I'm very passionate about is community and social justice. And so with Rest in Petals, I just been on this journey of like, what will be my legacy? Like, I don't just want to be creating things just to create things. We can create beautiful dresses and things that look cool, but what does that mean outside of it just being on bodies and it just living for those 3 seconds for a photo? You get what I'm saying? And so Rest in Petals came when I was just looking at life and what was going on in our social climate, and a lot of that was like genocide. But I wanted to do something that was true to myself, that spoke to how I felt, and do it in a very authentic way that like I only know how. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I'm like, let's pick up this hook. Let's not rush through it. Let's sit in this moment and identify these emotions and just work through it. And one of the things that my professor, shout out to Sarah Rabinowitz, she always told me, she said, don't abandon your work. And it was moments where I wanted to abandon this project. I kept trying to go to other things, like, oh, I'm gonna make some masks, I'm gonna do this. And not related to this project. I was like, I'm nervous about making this statement, da-da-da. And all I kept remembering is like, or kept hearing is like, don't abandon this work. And so I'm like, let's not abandon it. Let's just stay with it and let the people know like how you feel. And that's just what it was, yeah.
Dear God, I'm here, living, breathing, flesh of the flesh, blood running through my veins. I am naked, unapologetic, at my most vulnerable, with my eyes shut, blindly seeing the beauty, realizing that all of my imperfections are the soil that has nurtured this here rose of mine. These eyes have seen a painful reflection, yet they have also seen growth. But love for self has always prevailed, reminding me that she is far more precious than rubies. Amen.
I always knew she was destined to be something good. And when I look at her, she's so humble in a way that you cannot describe.
All of these moments of doubt made me feel on one hand very alone, but on the other hand like I had something to prove, not just to my family, not just to doubters, but to myself. The great Kobe Bryant once said, may you always enjoy the road, especially when it's a hard one. And best believe I was not prepared for how hard the journey would be. But the joy is really in the journey, and most great things are often never easy. I realized 3 major things that I want each of you to remember. Number 1, all challenges are opportunities for mastery. Number 2, your individuality is your superpower. And number 3, the secret to success is having the belief that you are already successful. My question to you all now, how will you show up for yourself? How will you use your superpower? What risk will you take that will bring you to your next level? I leave you with no advice, only affirmations. So know that the decision is yours, trust it. If you are in a room, trust that you are supposed to be there. Everyone is not meant to sit at your table, and that is okay. Woo! Weird and quirky is still very much cool. You being you is more than enough. And whatever you desire is not that far from reach. Thank you all for listening, thank you all for existing, and thank you all for showing up for yourself. With that being said, I'm excited to see how you all will impact your communities and make Chicago proud. Once again, congratulations, class of